Hello and welcome to episode 5 of the First Exchange podcast, and I am your host Lydia Des Dolles, and I'm delighted to be joined in studio today by former lightweight world champion Anthony Crolla. Welcome.
Lydia, good to be here.
I'm delighted you came in.
No, nice drive over the top. It's a warm one today. We've got the last few days of summer, haven't we? So baking a little bit, but no, good to be here.
It's good. I was just saying to you before we started filming, I've had nothing but world champions in here. I was like, I'm happy to keep the world champion flow going. It's
Thank
good.
you. No, I'm happy to be one to keep it going though. So you've had some great guests on.
Thank you. So obviously we're talking this weekend, busy weekend, lots going on, loads of your guys fighting.
Yeah.
Obviously we had seen you the last time at the Fight Zone shows. You've been doing your commentating.
Yep.
So you've a busy schedule.
This weekend, really, it's just become a little less busy. So on the Friday night, there's a show at the Copper Box, the Queensbury show. As you know, one of the Empire fighters, sponsored fighters, Junaid.
Yeah, Junaid.
Great
Boston,
lad, got loads of time for him. He's making his professional debut. So on that is Callum Thompson, one of Joe Gallagher's fighters who obviously I assist. Joe, knew Callum since being a schoolboy fighter, really.
Yeah.
Really good talented kid. It's his second fight. It's his TV debut, but he made his professional debut just a few weeks back. So he's fighting for the second time in a month on Frank's show on Friday. So I was going to go down, but I think with all the COVID testing, I'd have to be down the Thursday and
we're still not out of the water, so we're not with all the COVID testing.
Callum Johnson's on Saturday night. Obviously, Callum's a good mate. I wouldn't want to miss that, but on the Saturday night, I've got my own fighter, Jake James, on. So I have to be tested Friday in Bolton at the weigh-in, and then Sunday afternoon, I've got my other two of my other fighters, James Moorcroft and Rhiannon Dixon, on Sunday afternoon. So it's a mad. It would have been mad to go from London to there. That in between that, I'll get my son to his football match, but then Ronaldo's returning to Old Trafford. He wants to go there.
Yeah.
Don't know how I'm going to do it, to be honest. And Sunday evening, my mate's son, like my little godson, Leo, he's got his first MMA fight. So a bit of a mental weekend, to be honest. In
so retirement hasn't been quite then, is what we're getting at here.
What's that?
Retirement has not been quite.
No, it's not how I've seen it, to be honest. No, I still didn't have the slippers in the pipe. No, busier than ever, but no, all good. Listen, good. And I say it all the time, boxing, I say it when I retired, boxing will always be a huge part of my life. So been in the gym this morning, coaching, straight over here. Yeah. And I've got a bit of an easier day today. That's it. Because of the fighters, because they've all got a rest day today. With them coming up to a fight, so I'm not in tonight. So
you have the evening off. We're in here and you're doing this.
There we are. So
But you mentioned a couple TV debuts for the weekend. Can you remember your first?
My first
TV debut.
I can. Listen, it wasn't the best either. It was so. I always say this. So I remember showing clips. I remember second fight them showing a clip of me stopping someone. I felt great. But my granddad, God bless him, he's not up. No more. He stayed up till near midnight, and they ran through the card, and there's about a 5-second clip of me putting someone down with a body shot. But my first TV debut, like where I knew I was getting on at a certain time, I lost, and like you do, you let everyone know on. I don't even know if it would have been Facebook, it might have been MySpace at the time. MySpace or Facebook. Bebo. I miss Bebo, but MySpace. I'm on at this time, ITV4, blah blah blah. And I was boxing like a lad who's known as a journeyman. Anyway, come up short, like just an absolute nightmare of a fight for me. Amir Khan was fighting, he finished it early, so it also got shown on ITV. So it was a very sort of humbling night for me. And a night in my career what mapped out a big part of my future, both not just boxing wise, but I learned a lot of life lessons. There was the phone stopped ringing. There's people who was coming to watch who stopped buying tickets, understandably. I say it all the time, those same people ended up buying tickets again to come and watch me when, the journey was flying. But I don't hold anything against them, because I was this touted prospect, and if I'm losing, I say it all the time, joke about it, but it was a part-time ice cream man as well. So part-time boxer, part-time ice cream, and I'm getting beat in fights like that. They're thinking, well, you know what, it's not really the journey we want to invest on, we don't see him as the next big lad to be coming out of Manchester.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it was that was my TV debut. So I don't think there would have been many people who've had as worse TV debuts as me.
I mean, when you remember back that time, obviously that is, not part of the script. That's not part of how you want things to go. But when it happens and you can look back now in hindsight, and hindsight is such a great thing. But when you look back and you think about, how you felt in that time, or, how, we'll say, the phone stops ringing and different things like that. How long did it take you to kind of sit with it now and go, it is what it is, and that's just the way the game is?
It probably took a few years, to be honest.
Yeah.
It probably took a few years. I think I always had good mates around me. And I remember them saying, listen, you'll realise a lot of things now. And I realised that it took a little bit for me to do that, and also to understand sort of why they'd done it. And I genuinely, on that, I wasn't bitter.
Yeah.
I was probably a bit gutted, but I wasn't bitter or anything like that. But that was just a journey. We're all on different journeys, and that was just part of my journey. And now I say, listen, at the time I wouldn't have dreamed of saying it, but I wouldn't change it now, because that was part of, like I said, part of my journey.
Yeah.
Part of, the route I was meant to go. I always say it, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
And although it didn't seem at the time, that was a blessing in disguise. So that's it.
On the nights that it didn't go to plan and it didn't go your way, can you look back now and recognise why that might have been?
Yeah, certainly with a few of them. And even to the point where I just lost to the better man. I'm big enough to accept that. And listen, there's certain ones where I think, I wish I would have done a little things done different, and I would have given a better account of myself. Really believe that, which is a little bit, annoying, but that's it. That was the journey I was on. Listen, I'm at peace with my career like that. How it turned out, and there was one or two where I think I wish I would have done things different, but I didn't. You can't turn back time, unfortunately. And that's it.
Could you have imagined when you set out starting your career, when you're first putting on those gloves before you turn pro, and thinking about the goals and the dreams and I want to be like this person, that person, could you have imagined that you could have achieved what you have set out and done?
Like, genuinely, yeah. Like, and that's not meant to sound, cocky or arrogant or anything like that. I always, my aim was always to become a world champion. There was parts of my career where I probably would have got laughed at for saying that, but I never stopped believing I could do well with just adjustments and getting things right, and also getting that bit of luck. You need that bit of luck. Doesn't matter how good you are, you also always need a little bit of luck with things. I also got a little bit of bad luck, but it's that was just how it was. I never stopped believing. I think my mental strength was always very good. Because I believe, I say it all the time, it's not to big myself up, but there was a lot of fighters who would have walked away.
Yes.
They would have walked away from the sport at certain points in the career, what I had. Do you know what? I'm sure my phone or your phone was just vibrating.
It's your phone.
Apologies.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's totally fine.
Why that's,
but it's not when you look at that mental strength, that mindset, what do you attribute it to? Do you think it's your parents' influence? Do you think it's the environment where you grew up? Is it Manchester?
I think you're right. I think your surroundings. I think the influence of your parents.
Yeah.
And I think, listen, some of it, don't matter how much the people around you, want it for you, or you've got to want it yourself deep down. You've got to want to dig deep, and it doesn't matter. I always remember hearing Joe would say, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Yeah.
And that's it. The fighter's got to want it themselves, and I did want it. I wanted it. I feel as bad as absolutely anyone. I used to always think, no one can want it more than me. They can want it as much as me, but they won't want it more than me. I'll never be found sort of lacking in that area. And I think that played a huge part in it. And listen, at times, it was a bit of if there's certain points in my career and someone said, listen, you're not going to be a world champion, but you're going to do this, I probably would have snapped their hand off because of, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That might sound like I'm contradicting myself, but because it looked very, very unlikely, do you know what I mean? But yeah, no, I think the fighter's got to they've got that in themselves. Do you know what I mean? They think
100%.
people say you can't train hard. You've either got it or you've not. I think you can train sort of, you can get fitter, which probably helps you dig a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
But there comes a point where you've got to dig deep. You've got to have it.
I think there was something in, I don't know if you've seen the documentary The Last Dance on Michael Jordan.
Unbelievable. One of the best things I've ever seen.
How good, right?
Unbelievable.
It was like you totally got the essence of what it meant.
Well,
how tough it might have been,
and, I always say it, like, you hear things where you think, Michael Jordan, he's not the nicest of guys, and you can 100%
exactly why I
see
brought
it
up. Yes,
you can 100% see it, but I think what you can't deny is like, there's a bit in it what I remember, and he goes, there's this young kid, he goes, oh, you retiring? He says, oh, I wanted to, along the lines of, I wanted to be in football terms, I wanted to put you in my back pocket. He was obviously joking. Do you know what I mean? He's a legend. He took it. I always joke, there's a gif or something like that. I took that personal.
Yeah.
And that's what he did. And I think that is the way he needed to fire himself up. That's the way he needed to fire himself up. But yeah, what an unbelievable, honestly, one of the very, very best things I've ever seen. And I can't still like a bit of basketball. I can't pretend I'm really knowledgeable or anything like that. But
do you recognise qualities in him and in that team that you possess yourself?
I think a little bit, yeah. I think a little bit. Just sort of, that will to win. Yes. That will to win being possibly the main one. But there is so many little qualities, and I've seen him in other coaches where sometimes you think, wow, you're being harsh there. But then I get, when I look back now, I look why you're doing it. I see my own coach where I think, there's times I think he'd sit here, Joe would just sit here, and I think, it's times when we fall out or whatever. And I think that's what happens. But he might have done things for a reaction. And don't wrong after, I might think, you freaking prick. Like, you didn't have to do that or whatever. But that was his way of doing it and getting the best at me, or getting what he wanted out of me. And that's it. And obviously now I'm a coach myself, and I'm learning, and I always say it, like, I think certain fighters you're going to have to be tougher on. I always say the same, listen, some need a carrot, some need a stick. Yeah. And I think a good coach...
That's a very good analogy.
Yeah, a good coach knows when to use that, or when to use it with certain individuals. Some fighters, some players might need the carrot more than the stick, and vice versa. Do you know what I mean? It's...
How do you think you attune to that as a coach? Like, you obviously have the experience because you've been on the other end of it, so you know what you needed and what was needed to bring certain things out of you. But now in the roles reversed,
of course, you're always learning this game. I'm very inexperienced as a coach. I'm sure I'm going to make mistakes along the way. Well, 100% I will. But I think you've just got to sort of look to get to know the individual. You've got to look to get to know the individual person. I always say a boxing coach isn't just a boxing coach to become a little bit of a counsellor, a little bit of, it's, you become a friend, but then at the same time, not someone, who's got the piss. Do you know what I mean? It's different. It's much more a boxing coach, or a very good one, covers much more than being just in the boxing gym with the fighters.
When you look back on that relationship now, especially with Joe, like, do you feel like you will ever replicate a relationship like that again?
With another fighter?
With somebody, maybe not with your fighter because you'd have that, but I suppose I'm trying to get at the bond or the relationship that you would have had with him. I mean,
you never know, sort of business-wise, what you're going to do. Like, for instance, I've got my own place, my own gym, and we're the coaches, we're all close, and that's what I want it. I want to be like, everyone close like that, and sort of to be able to, laugh together, have good times together, look forward to things together. So I hope so. I hope so. It'd be a little bit different, as in sort of what we went through as a fighter, but I always hope for like similar relationships where, so I always think, listen, friendships, relationships like that, one of the most beautiful things in life, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I hope so. Like, probably very different to me and Joe, like mad ups and downs, and thankfully some unbelievable times, which I'll never, achieve again. But yeah, I think you can take a lot. I can take a lot from that, either with my own fighters or gym business going forward.
When you look back at all the title wins and all the good nights, the big nights that there's been, and the reception with the crowd, and you know, achieving that, when does it hit you? You know, because we watch you on TV and we see you win in that moment. We see you getting the stoppage. We see you lifting the belts. We see you doing your post-fight interview, embracing the crowd. I always wonder, at what moment does it actually sink in, and do you think, you know, I'm a world champion?
Do you know what? It takes probably a few days to sink in, as in, like, you know, watching it back. And you know, for me, it was like having that quiet moment myself. Like, I couldn't be with my mates or my family watching it, and like I didn't like it. Do you know, like watching it back, and do you know, everyone.
So would you be alone when you watch it back?
Yeah, a lot. Like for it to sink in, yes, 100%. Like watch it back on my own, and so, or sometimes speaking to certain people, it'd sink in. Do you know what I mean? People close to you, whether it be family, you know, coach, or good friends, you know what I mean? That's what it might take. There might always be like a little trigger that I set off, and you go, you know what, it sunk in. So obviously at the moment, there's this moment of joy and stuff like that, but I think your adrenaline's pumping, you're in a bubble. It doesn't hit home. You're on like a huge high, a high that, you know, I always say it, no drink or drugs going to give me, you know, probably not going to achieve again in my life. Like that kind of high, get highs, but not that kind of high again. But sometimes it's took a talking to a friend or a family member or like the coach or whatever, and it'd sink in. Do you know what I mean? Certain things, just to watch it, or like I said, without contradicting himself, you'd watch it, and then that's what I mean. You'd replay that conversation with them while you watch it and go, I get it, what we've done.
It just seems like, I mean, is the process overwhelming? That whole, you know, to start a fight camp, to put in all that blood, sweat and tears in the lead up to it, to go through the fight, and then you have, obviously, you've media week, you've all this pressure, and then it's suddenly over. It's, you know, is it sort of like a dump of adrenaline, you know, after all honestly, that 8, 10, 12 weeks?
After nearly every fight, or always like sort of a few days after, I'd end up run down a little bit, and like I'd end up a little bit under the weather, because the come downs mental. Do you know what I mean? Like you pumped, and then adrenaline, like I could never really sleep. Then I had like hard fights the night after the fight and stuff. Sometimes I'd go right through, and then it, you know, to come down, it'd just be like, wow. It was I couldn't switch off. It'd take a good few days to switch off. And I'd always end up a little bit run down, you know, a week or so after the fight. But it was just, at the time, you're just living for the moment, aren't you? You're living for the moment, and that's what I say all the time. Like the high is like, you just something you think of, and you still probably get goosebumps, you know, these moments in your life where you think, wow, that night. What
are the obviously we have an idea of what your highlights will be, the peak moments, but for you, is there any, you know, memorable moment where you look back and go, I remember that person saying this to me, or I remember, you know, this feeling, or being in that place at that time? What is the kind of the highlight that stands out for you?
It's mad. It's like, there's a few, like right from winning my first, debut even as an amateur and stuff like that, but I remember winning as a professional. I fought a very good lad, Andy Morris, who I rated high, and someone who I looked up to, you know, growing up. He was very, very good, Andy was. And that was my first title, and was an English title, and it was mad. Like, I can't say my career was on the line, but it was a huge, huge turning point, you know, in my career. And like what it meant, it just gave me that sort of belief sort of to go on and become a championship fighter. And it's mad. Like, I remember it was like, it's just, you know, that bit, and then you know, you're on sort of television, you're getting that win, people recognizing you and stuff like that, and you're thinking like, wow, it's, and not just ego, but you're thinking, I want this, you know, I want more of this. So that was before, and then again, British title. And I remember, like, my dad was an ex-professional boxer, so he knew like the importance of a British title, the Lonsdale, that's a beautiful belt. And I remember there's a bit where like the Smith brothers, like I've got so much love for them all. Do you know what I mean? But obviously back then they'd not long joined the gym. I knew them anyway, but not joined I remember being at the Olympia, in the changing rooms, not the best facility, but I love the Olympia. But in the changing rooms, I remember just being upstairs and just had this fight, and I remember was helping me take my boots off. When I was like getting drug tested and stuff, and I'm looking at this Lonsdale belt and I'm thinking, wow, how's this happened? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's mad. And not the obvious ones. It's I'd like to pick one. Listen, if you had to say one, I say one, either the world title or defending the world title. But they're the moments. Like they're the moments you train for. They're the moments. Like I said, when I won a world title, it wasn't. I think there's a picture of me. It half looks like I'm crying, but I'm not. But there's that many emotions.
Did you not shed a tear? You not shed a little tear?
Well, I maybe did, but I didn't know I did. But there's that many emotions, Lydia. Like there was sort of obviously everything what had happened as well, like leading up to that. But it was happiness. It was relief. It was relief. It was sort of like, everyone who backed me, I've won that world title now. Sort of like, hopefully I've made them proud. So many things, running through. And there's a picture and it looks like I'm crying like my eyes up, but hey, there's probably about 50 different emotions coming out of me, like as I'm screaming at that point. But yeah, I just, like I said, they're the nights you live for. Right? They're the nights you live for.
You touched on a point there when you were just talking, and you said, I hope I made them proud. And I always find it so maybe interesting at how many fighters at your level or on the way to your level that the people around them play such a factor in them wanting to win and be successful because they want to make people proud.
Yeah.
What
huge.
was that for you? Is it the, thinking about the joy that the win would bring your family and friends?
That's a part of it. It's a part of it. I always thought people spending their hard-earned money.
Yeah.
Do I want them to have a good night? I want them, and again, it sounds all ego, but it's not. But I want them to talk about it, for years to come. Like, it means the world to me. I took my son playing football the other day, and someone, I don't know where they would have been from. Like, been from like Halifax way or something. Like, come up to me and went, I had many a good nights watching you, and stuff like that. And it means the world to me. Do you know what I mean? Like, never met this guy. He's not as if he's from like around my area. He says, I'm there, and then people I've been on holiday, and he says, I was there that night when. And I think, imagine not, it's not like you don't know me or like that, but you come to watch me and stuff. So I'd always want to give people value for money in a way, but then family, and my team. Like, I think they put the effort into me. I give them everything, and I want to make them think, that was worth it that night. Like I've just said, they're the highs we chase, and we hit the high that night. Family, I always say I never claim to have it like I've had it rough, because my mum and dad, they done everything for us and that, but it wasn't easy for them. I know it wasn't easy for them. They never moaned, but I know when I look back now, and I've got a child of my own, family of my own, I think it couldn't have been easy that. It couldn't have been easy for yous with 3 lads. And so I think I think there was little bits like, my mum getting on the bus with me, taking me to the gym straight from work and stuff like that. And I don't know, like my dad just working extra hours to provide, for us and stuff with certain things. So I thought, I want to really make them proud as well.
That's something that I think we can all relate to. When we look back at our parents or our childhood, we can definitely look at moments where we go as adults, God, I didn't actually factor that in. I didn't realise that, and how, lucky and blessed that, we all have ups and downs in our life, but there are definitely moments where you look back and you go, God, it must not have been easy, especially at that time or whenever it might have been.
Yeah.
Can you remember a time when, you could see the pride in your mum and dad's face?
Yeah, Yeah, I can, and that means everything to me. Like, I always joke, like, my dad's not one, my mates are joke, he's not one to get excited, or he's never be like, oh, I ran it all out. He's never ever one of
proper
those
Manchester man.
Yeah, but I know, like, he'd look forward to fight night and stuff like that. So, yeah, that there's stuff that I remembered, you know, he's never the one who'd put me on, I'm proud of your son, like, never in a million years would he do that, but I know there was times where I could tell he was, so that was enough for me. Same with my mum. You know, it's mad, my mum loves boxing, but she just hated me boxing, if that made sense. You know, like, she'd go to the show, she'll watch show week in, week out, whether it be on a Friday night, whether it be on, do you know what I mean, whether it be on TV on Saturday, she'll watch them all, but she just didn't like my fights. So
can you understand that? Like,
why
it would be hard
absolutely,
for you?
Because I think my little brother boxed amateur, and I think the nerves I used to get for then was worse than any of mine. We were doing 3 1.5 minute rounds at the time. Whereas now I'd like to think, be a bit better. Do you know what I mean? But for instance, if my son he's just turned 8, do you know, if in a few years' time he wants to box, worst nightmare, but if he wants to box, you've just got to support him the best way you can. I can only imagine what the nerves would be like. I'd hate it. Do you know what I mean?
I know you said your little boy plays football. Do you get kind of a little nerve when you watch him play football?
I do. And it's like, it sounds sad. It's the highlight of my week, watching him in his little grassroots club play football. I think it's, you know, I love it. I go there and go and watch him do himself and stuff. Like, I think sometimes as well, I'm not one of those dads, but I think there'll be sometimes when I watch, I'm going, do this workout, do you know what I mean? So they come a fine line, but with boxing I might have a bit of saying it, but football, I'm a fan, but I can't pretend I know too much.
Where is the joy in it for you, getting to watch him play football like that? Is it just seeing seeing his skill, and like progressing and different things,
and the fact that, you know, you see him doing well, and you see other parents congratulating him and, you know, speaking well. Of course it is. You're proud, like, that's my lad. You know, it's of course, or just like them working together as just young people. And sort of the joy to bring them to. It's I always say, I think sports I think it's the best thing in the world. Whether it be boxing, whether it be football, whichever sport, like, just them working together, they're your best memories. A lot of the times they're your best memories, you know. I wasn't like the best footballer, but like, I can remember being on the football team in school, little trips they had away. I remember going to Holland when I was 10, like, memories for life. Getting to some national final in the athletics with our school. It's like, so they're all when I think all my best memories outside of boxing, they're still sport. They're still sport, whether it be watching Manchester United somewhere. Again, it's sport. So it's a huge part. I mean, listen, obviously, you know, the birth of your children and stuff like that, you saying that, but, you know, that's the obvious one, isn't it? But, like, it's nearly all sport.
Has it always been United for you?
Always.
Is the whole house a red house?
No, that's the thing, it's not. But my Nana Pauline, bless her, like, she passed away when I was like 10. She was a crazy red, and I was with my Nana Pauline a lot, and that was how it got passed down. And so now, like, it's like one of my favourite things. Again, it's not to sound like super dad or anything like that, but like going to the match with my little lad, it's one of the best things. Like, there was Saturday, I remember going to the Saturday, he had a match in the morning, then we went to Old Trafford. Great day there, then we come back, there's some boxing, and I was just thinking, wow, just what a day. But no, it's always been like, it's a big part of my life, you know, away from boxing. That's a huge part, and obviously my family, but that's a
Do you get recognised when you go to games? Games?
Yeah, they do. Like, you know, they're all great with us as well, because, and again, the amount of them who used to come watching us was unbelievable. So, there's always like someone who recognises us, you know, without sounding. Thinking, like, it's funny because little lad don't get it. Like, why do they want a picture with your dad?
Like,
you know, like,
what's going on here?
Dad, why did they all want a picture with you? They just don't get it. It's brilliant. But,
do you explain to him? Do you say, like, I used to do a bit back in the day?
I go, well, they used to come and watch Dad, you know, when he was on at the arena. They used to come and watch me and stuff. Oh, right. So he like gets it a little bit more now as he's getting older. If
he had been a little bit older when you were still fighting, would you have liked him to have been there?
No, even sort of the last few, he wanted to come, but I never really wanted. wanted to see me my son ringside. No, no way.
Do you think it would throw you off mentally?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean, listen, if it was now, when he was at his age now, I don't know if I'd have much say in it. He's only 8, but he bosses me about, so I probably won't have much say in it. But it's always risky. I remember Tony Bellew seeing his lad before his world title fight, Goodison.
Yeah.
And he didn't even know he was going, and then he seen him, and it's like, now, if you would have asked him, absolutely no, not a chance is he going, but the fact he was there for his big night, probably the best feeling in the world. Like, I imagine it was like, I'm so glad my son was there.
Yeah.
Do you know, I would never want my son ringside when I'm boxing, because unfortunately I've seen some of the serious sides of it, you know, being up close, and you never know what can happen.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. But sticking with United, you know, because obviously, you know, there's a certain, we would happily say you're the pride of Manchester. I mean, there's a few of you in it, but there's definitely pride there. When you were winning all your accolades and different things, you know, and you have, I imagine, the United team or different people reaching out. Of
course.
Like, what is that like?
That's what I mean. It was crazy. Like, I wish my little boy was a bit older at that time, because he would have. Do you know, there's a day when I remember getting invited down to the training ground and being sat with Wayne, you know, Wayne Rooney, and he's talking to us, and then he'd come to my fights. Some of the other players would come to the fight, and I think it's mad. Like, I'd be there, and I remember like getting messages off Sir Alex, and I'm thinking, I'd seen him since, and I'm thinking, you don't understand, like, I idolise like some of them players, and like even the players who someone'd come watch me, and I'd just be like, I'd be cheering their name or singing along to their song or whatever. I think it's mad they come and watch us and stuff like that, and it was crazy, and like the club was very good to me. The club was very good to me. They got behind me, and that's why I think on the night there was a real sort of United feel. But I was thankful it wasn't just United fans who come to watch me and stuff like that. So I was always thankful, no matter who. But yeah, the club it'll always hold like sort of a special place in my heart because of how good they was to us, and just being invited to some awards. And I remember the first time he was telling me, like, Wayne Rooney was there, and he was going, I think I was boxing John Murray, and he was like, I was there, and all the lads was watching it, and I was thinking, all the lads was watching me fight, like, it's mad, like, and then the next day, obviously, I would have been watching them. It's just bizarre, like, for me. But yeah, no, he's proud. That makes you feel proud. Do you know what I mean? Of
course.
If someone players who you look up to like that.
But it's almost like, I know there's a lot of Irish in Manchester, but there's a lot of similarities between Irish people and, people from Manchester and the surrounding areas.
It's a huge,
And it's that sort of community, community spirit, community vibe, and it's about supporting your own, and, 100%. Just everyone just wanting to have a good time and celebrate,
I love it. Do you know what? I said it before on the camera about, I don't know the area. I think I just noticed it was sort of from Birtley.
Yeah.
And Tommy Hodgson new box the other week.
Yeah.
And I see how they are, whether it be him, there'd be Joe Laws, there'd be April.
Yeah.
The McCormicks are going to improve.
Yeah.
They just get behind. I said it, I love it. They're nuts. They're absolutely mental, but they all get behind, and I love seeing that. I love seeing that sort of togetherness. And I remember, like, as the amateurs, there'd be certain gyms that always turn out. They'd always turn out to support, one another, and I think that was good. Sort of with us coming through, I was with a lad having a 6th round, and it'd always be a good load of the lads and girls with Tash who'd be there to support that person. Do you know what I mean? But
Tash in particular, she does get a massive support. Like, she kind of transcends her area in a sense. You know what I mean? Like, even in Ireland, there's a massive following with Tash. I know when she fought Katie, I interviewed her after. She was like, and I was like, no, we love you.
Tash is
recognise something in her. You know what I mean?
She's really inspiring. Like, she's there. I see it when she's fighting Kate, the greatest woman of all time. She's there. She's having to bring her daughter to the gym. Put her upstairs while she's training. I'm just like, how can you not be inspired by that? And
100%.
I think, you know, that night was one of the best fights I've ever been involved in. Unbelievable fight. And I remember, like, you know, it's one of the fondest. I remember, like, I was in Kate's changing room watching her hands get wrapped, and I know Brian and the team. Just Kate's a lovely person. Do you know, great team behind her, and I'm thinking they put on a fight that was unbelievable. You know, Tass just come up short, and I remember in the bar, do you know, after it, in the hotel, back at, like, it was Bubble at that time, wasn't it? And I remember, do you know, looking at there. She was just sat there, like, you know, in a tracksuit, and she's just talking away, like, just to people. And then Katie's sort of the same. And I just thought, they're just two special people then. Do you know, like, to have put on that fight, there was no egos or anything like that. And, I just thought, wow. I don't know if I've gone off the point here a little bit.
No, it's a beautiful point. It's perfect. We feel like we're there. We're capturing the moment beautifully. But it's why we love both of them, you know. And it's why we loved you, and it's why we love a lot of fighters. It's that, you know, the wanting and the doing of the putting on the performance, and then the humbleness that goes behind it.
And I think, and I get, like, do you know, there is, people love a showman or a showgirl, like, whichever, you know, may be in the sport. And you do need a bit of that as well. But I think it is nice. It's nice to be nice away from it all.
Yeah.
And that's obviously, there's so many of them, but certainly what them two are. But, you know, it's a sport, like I said it all the time, like, in boxing, you need that bit of beef sometimes. But let's be honest, 9 times out of 10, it's not real.
No.
It's not real. So
did you need it? Did you, when you knew who you were going to be fighting and you're in camp, like,
didn't bother me.
It didn't bother who it was.
I say it all the time. It could be the day of the fight. I could be sat here, like, talking. I'm just like, whatever. It's business.
Yeah.
It was a job. I always thought it's a job. It's nothing personal. It's nothing personal. It's a job. And I think, like you say,
that's more terrifying, though.
Maybe so.
That you're like, I can sit here with you before I go in,
and
you know?
It doesn't bother me. Like, I genuinely mean it. Like, I could be having my last food before going, you know, my last meal before a fight.
Yeah.
If you wanted to sit there and talk, I'm like, whatever. And then, but I knew once, changing rooms, hands wrapped, walking to the ring, I knew that was it. Like, it wasn't, at that point, everything goes out the window till the bell goes. Till the bell goes, but I'd say other fighters, seeing different, like, I know Tony Bellew, sometimes he'd have to build up that, I've got to have a dislike for them. And he's a good guy. He's a good man, do you know what I mean? But he needed to build up that bit of dislike, you know, for the fighter, and that was it. That's so, I'm not criticising that. That's what the individual, what the athlete felt was best for them.
100%. Can you remember the moment, or was there always the same moment when you fought that you felt that switch? And was it like a switch where you just went from, you know, Anthony Crolla, the regular guy from Manchester, to, you know, a world elite level athlete?
It'd be the, you know, in the change rooms, hands are wrapped. Just before, you know, as you're putting the gloves on, that'd be it then. That'd be it. I'd think, right, it's now time to switch on, game face even, and I'm in a game face, but just to think, right, I'm here now to do my job, and I'm focused.
When you are standing across from the opponent and the ring announcer is calling out both your names and your records and the crowd's going, what are you seeing when you look at him across the ring?
You look at, and you are like weighing him up. You're thinking, how different do you look from the weigh-in? How this, that. You can't help but look at that. It's not like, oh, let them worry about me. And you can't help but check and think, wonder what he's put on. I wonder, do you know, how does he look around here? Do you know, has he piled it on fast? Does it, do you know, does it not look like he's carved up well? Do you know, you'll question those things a little bit. And you're just sort of trying to size up your opponent. You're trying to size up your opponent. Can
you feel it in there when you've beaten a man before you've gotten the stoppage or before you've gotten your hand raised?
During the fight, yes, definitely.
Can you feel it in your opponent?
Without a doubt, without a doubt, you can feel the opponent weakening. You can feel him giving off little distress signals. You've got to be able to pick up on that, do you know, sort of little weaknesses that he's showing, and then things he's not liking, things, Yeah, and I think for me, I think it sounds like I'm a horrible person, but so many fighters will tell you, you'd prey off, you'd feed off that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You'd, even to the point where if you're tired as well, but you can see how they're feeling that a little bit more, you almost give you a second wing. So no, I prey on that weakness. Do you know, I feed off that. That's what I was like as a fighter, for sure, definitely. And I think 90% of other fighters tell you, you know, if you can spot that, you do your feed off it. Oh, there's been times, like even in a session, and it sounds bad, friends, where you're feeling, wow, but they'll give off some at first, and then you think, hang on, I'm not that bad.
Yeah.
And then bang, you get that lease of life, or that burst. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Is that the fighter? Is that the fighter that's in you?
Yeah, I'd say it is. It's you can become like a little bit horrible. For instance, like I saw it like with Liam Smith.
Yeah.
Liam, you'll see him sort of smile a bit in that, and he enjoys it, and he sort of knows, I think, I've got you, and he sort of enjoys like menacing, like prowl, sort of going around thinking, I'm going to chop you up, like chip away, and like I enjoy that, and then that tiredness then becomes, it sort of, it eases a little bit, that fatigue seems to ease a little bit.
Why do you think we love boxing as fans?
I think it goes right back to sort of the Romans, you know, the gladiators. It's so obviously the gloves are named after, as I confirmed today. Yeah, shout out. I'm glad I got that one right, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's yeah.
Your check's in the post for that little slide in there.
Thank you. No, but I think where was that? What I think it just goes back to that. It's just combat, and we are a bit barbaric at times, and it's entertaining. You know, we can dress it up how we want. That's, you know, from as long as time can go back. Yeah, there's always been that kind of a bit more brutal, probably back then. You know, so whether it be gladiators or whoever it may be, where that to show who's the better man, or now the woman. Yeah, I just think it goes right back to watching combat, like from.
It's like it's primal, right? It's something like it's completely primal.
It's just how we exist.
Yeah, absolutely. Like when we look at, you know, fighters and you being in that position and your entire career, were you always a fan of boxing? You know, when you were I was so surprised to find that not a lot of fighters are fans of boxing. You know, they don't watch it.
My dad was an ex-professional boxer, so I was brought up around it. You know, he'd watch fights and stuff, and I always took a liking to it. Yeah. But it doesn't necessarily mean that's going to happen. Like my older brother, never interested in it whatsoever. But I took a liking to it. A big boxing fan, like I say, sometimes like Saturday I just really enjoyed. Yeah. Just watching, to make myself sound old, but just, you know, having a few hours to myself watching the boxing. Yeah,
but when you fought, did you still keep an eye on like what other people were doing in different divisions?
On the undercard, or
yeah, like, you know, where you just invested in boxing as a sport? Yeah,
massively invested in it, and even, you know, just I'm a boxing fan. Always have been, always will be. So,
because some boxers say, you know, you ask them about. And, you know, anything else that's going on outside of even their division, and they're like, oh, I don't pay attention to it. No, I don't watch other cards. I don't watch different things, you know.
I'd always watch, you know, other fights, still do now. And even like now, I imagine when there's certain fighters down the line who are trained, who they could be on the same path, but end up watching them, you know, to try and see weaknesses, strengths and weaknesses of theirs. But yeah, no, I'm a boxing fan right from the amateurs right all the way through to top level.
If someone said, you know, I have a jug here and you have to pour in all the ingredients that's needed to be a world champion and elite level athlete, what would you pour in?
There's dedication. I think, there's people who's been world champions who haven't lived the life, so you do get it, but I definitely believe you need a certain extent of dedication, a certain amount of dedication even. We've talked about it, just will and desire. You need plenty of that. I think you do need a bit of talent. You do need a bit of talent, no matter, you know, how hard you work. There's a bit of talent, but I mentioned it earlier as well. You need a splash of luck.
Yeah.
You need a splash of luck. It doesn't matter how good, someone is, you do need that little bit of luck. Whether it be, even if someone dominates the fight, whether it be in the training camp or whichever, where they might have had this niggle or something like that, and it's held off. You always need a little bit of luck. And also there's fighters who didn't get that luck, who was good enough to be world champions, but just didn't get the luck, didn't get the backing that they did. I'm sure there is some I've missed out. Like you say, I think I've sort of said hard work, haven't I, with the determination. But that, for the other, I think with that jug, I think you to be a world champion, you certainly need a few of those. You need all those ingredients. That said.
It's a good jug.
Yeah.
It's a good jug. When you think about the business of boxing, and everyone has so many different opinions on boxing as a business, was there elements of the business that you during your career said, you know what, I wish this wasn't the case, or I wish this was like not an element that I had to factor in?
Oh yeah, sometimes like the politics and the business side of things can be the hardest, without a doubt. In fact, 90% of the times, yeah. No matter how hard the fight is, but I think that's what people have got to understand. There's boxing is a business, and I say it to so many professionals turning over, unless you've been to the Olympics or something like that. So you've got to be prepared to be a little bit skint for the next few years. You've got to. It's going to cost you money. Please don't think, turning over, it's going to be like glitz and glamour, because there's not like you're going to have to look to get certain sponsors. You're going to have to prepare to be skint. Do you know what I mean? You're going to have to prepare to see your friends who are earning a wage each week, be able to go out, be able to buy nice clothes, be able to go these places to eat, and you can't afford to do that. So you've got to be prepared for that. It's starting off early on. If you work out what, some it's well below the minimum wage. Turning professional. And that's it. And the headache of tickets. I was very fortunate, and I had a great following, but it's still like saying you're mad sometimes with tickets. So especially as it got bigger, I was lucky enough to have an handful of people who helped me out. But I was still involved more than what I should have been, really. But that was just me.
So were you like fight day getting calls, I'm outside, where's my tickets?
All the time, mental. All the time. Sometimes
you're like, get me hands wrapped here, ring someone else.
Yeah. Sometimes being in the changing room, my little brother would like answer my phone, and they'd go, I ain't got another ticket sat next to them. He goes, do you know what? I don't know, but he's just getting his hand wrapped at the minute, but I'll get him to check after that. Like some people, it's just they don't understand it. You can't be too thingy with them, because even though you've had 2 months to get the tickets, like half an hour before he's gonna ring walk or whatever, you're gonna ask for tickets. It's just the way.
It's funny, isn't it?
They don't understand it. Do you know what I mean? You can't take it personal. It's you can laugh about it sometimes. Do you know?
It's a good, a good story, a good memory to have in that, like, the most inappropriate time to ring someone about tickets.
Yeah. I remember, just certain things like, you'd be on the way to the venue. Sometimes you wouldn't answer your phone as much, but I remember early on, like, Crolla, I need 2 ringsides for your fight now. I'm like, mate, I keep tickets in yesterday. I'm getting, there's none there now. Can you not have a word with someone? And you're like, mate, honestly, I've got a few other things to try and sort out rather than to sort you out a few ringside tickets. No, the money's there. No, the money might be there, but you don't understand.
I'm out.
Yeah. But
do we need to change that element of fighters having to sell tickets, or is that just part of the process?
Hard. It's part of the business.
Yeah.
Because someone will go, well, it's the promoter's job to do this, but let's be realistic as well. There's a lot of promoters who lose money putting on shows. For instance, listen, there's a lad who, I saw 2 of the lads have boxed over the summer. One lad done very well with tickets. One lad sort of thought he was on a certain wage, and then that fight fell through. So he didn't bother selling as much tickets, regardless, because he was going to be the away fight. But now anyway, so he didn't sell as many tickets. So the fighter who sold a lot more tickets had would be a much easier fight on paper, less rounds, but you come out with a much better wage, and that's just it. And it's like, since I've got a lad there now, and he doesn't sell tickets, but I'm like, it's hard. So if a promoter's going to think, well, he's got to be in a real fight. He's got to be in a real fight, because I can't just invest money unless he's in a real fight. Do you know? Unless there's going to be, look, at the end, some kind of return. Do you know what I mean? They're going to see it as I'm not a charity.
Yeah.
But yeah, listen, let's be realistic. It always helps if you can sell tickets.
Yeah.
It does. Listen, it's a big part of things.
But then there's also that argument as well where people, you know, again, we're talking about it being the business, and it's you could talk about it you can go on and on what's right and what's the right way and what shouldn't be, but you also have to factor in that, you know, people who do sell tickets that may not be, you know,
I know exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, listen, let's be honest.
I'm be delicate with my words here.
No, there's people who sell tickets who get much better opportunities than much better fighters than themselves.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. That is just how it works. Do you know, it's not like, just see it now. It's so, if you go into like the YouTube boxing and stuff like that, if they're selling thousands of tickets, they're going to get a much bigger purse than someone who's dedicated their life to boxing for 10 years.
How does that make you feel as, you know, someone who's put in the blood, sweat and tears?
No, listen, it can be hard to take if you look at it like that. But that's what I was saying. Professional boxing is a business.
Yeah.
So, do you know, at the weekend, we saw what happened with Oscar Valdez.
Yeah.
My opinion, he failed the drug test, yeah? However, the world champion, he's still fighting Saturday.
Yeah.
If that doesn't prove to you professional boxing is a business over sport, I'll never know what it would be. If there was no money involved in that fight, if there was no money sort of around the camp of, you know, of the fighter or whatever, that fight wouldn't be happening. If someone had failed a drug test and there was boxing on a show where there was next to nothing, you know, money-wise or on an amateur show, it wouldn't be boxing. No. That's it. So I think all it is sometimes, it sounds a little bit harsh here, but that's my only thing with some professional fighters where, please understand, professional boxing is a business over a sport. And is it right? No, it's not. But that's just the way it is, and that's the way it'll always be. Let's not pretend it's something else.
So is it about accepting that this is how it works?
And that's probably with the YouTubers, and people go, oh, well, you're part of the problem. But I don't care. I'm just sort of a bit realistic, as in, you know, if someone's going to bring so many thousand people into arena, he's going to do so many buys on pay-per-view. Yeah. It's going to happen. So I try and look at the positive. That's the way the world's going now. Or has been going for a while. But then I try and look at the positive. For instance, I worked at the Jake Paul Tyrone Woodley fight. Yeah. On the undercard of that fight, Amanda Serrano, she's been dedicated for years. That night, her profile has risen more than it ever has before. I think she would have got paid as well as she's ever been paid before. And some of the other undercard, there were some good fights in there. So I think you've just got to take it. I was sort of saying to the night, as an event. Yes. As an event, enjoy the boxing and listen. Enjoy the boxing. If you can't stand that YouTube bit or whatever, turn it off. Don't watch that bit. Don't watch that.
Do you feel like there's room for it? There's room for all of these different promotions, all of these different. Obviously, we've seen with DAZN with the new, you know, the schedule that they have, and
the more boxing that's on, whether it be on television, streaming apps, the better. Yeah. You know, the more boxing available for eyes to see, the better for the sport. And some people say, well, no, that usually I disagree, but it might be a very, very, very small percentage, but it might encourage, you know, that kid in his room. They might not become a boxer or like that. It might encourage them to stop being in the room as much, playing on their Xbox or the PlayStation, to go down to the local gym and just live a little bit healthier. Yeah. So no, I think there's positive. You've got to look at the positives throughout. You know, for you know, in all aspects, you know, of that side of things.
100%. When you finished fighting and you started doing, the little bit of TV work and the commentating and different things, how was that for you? Was it were you apprehensive about going into that area of work, or was it just like, you know what, let's go for it?
No, I enjoy it. I'm just like, listen, I'm just talking about something I love. I do love boxing. There's bits about it I don't.
Yeah, what don't you like about it?
It's just like I said, like we was mentioning earlier, the business side of things, certain fights not being able to happen.
Yes,
certain fights being tied up in certain things. But again, then I also look at it as in, a promoter might think, well, what? So I'll just invest in this fight or whatever, then he can go elsewhere. That's just, it's a business. But no, I'm talking about sort of what I love. I've got a great view watching the sport that I love, the sport, which is a business first, as I've said a few times.
Do you get excited seeing the new prospects coming through and getting to, like,
course I do. Of course I do.
You
like,
feel invigorated again.
Watching the prospects, seeing how far they can, thinking, I think he's going to go far, or seeing the improvement in a prospect. Like, I love, well, don't wrong, I've watched them and I think, I'm not seeing it. And then they start delivering and I think, wow, right, I get it. I love seeing it. I love seeing the improvement in a fight, or whether it be on the show or in the gym or whatever, or transferring that gym form into under the lights, on the night of fighting.
Do you think it's easy to spot, maybe not a future world champion, but someone who has the potential to go all the way?
I don't know about easy to spot. I think there's certain things you look for. I think if you ask a coach how they're gonna, there's certain things. For instance, try and look at the balance. Yeah. How quick they are at picking things up, lead hand on them. There's certain things that I look at. In a fight, and I'm sure so many good coaches will tell you other things. Like, but I think the most important thing is that being able to coach them,
Absolutely, being coachable. Being coachable in any aspect of life. That's a big part, isn't it?
Whether you're a boxer, whether you're training an apprentice, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
If you can't coach them or teach them, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how you might get. I've seen it. You might get a bit of a natural athlete in the gym, but if he or she's almost uncoachable, where it's just so hard, then those other kids who might not be as athletic as them are going to overtake.
Yeah. God, that's that's an interesting concept because you control that. Do you know what I mean? You can control that yourself, and whether you are that coachable person or not, and whether you're willing to adapt to, the situation or whatever is put in front of you.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think, obviously, then certain coaches might suit certain, well, they certainly do, will suit certain athletes in that way. Certain coaches might not be able to get the best out of that athlete.
In terms of goals, you obviously had fighting goals. Do you now have coaching goals?
Do you know what? It sounds mad. It sounds probably very unorganised, which I'm pretty unorganised. Listen, would I love a world champion? Yes. Yeah. Would I love a few world champions? Yes. But I don't know whether that's... listen, my goal has always been about something soft. I just want to get the very best out of the fighters that I work with. If that's a world champion, if it's an English champion, an English title to one of my fighters might be that world title to someone else. Do you know what I mean? That might be their equivalent. That might be their, their peak where you think realistically that's where they're gonna, where we're gonna go for. But I think that I can't say, oh, I want this. I want a world champion. I want a Ring Magazine world champion. I want this. I want that. I want to get the best out of each and every fight I can. Hopefully, that leads to them kind of successes. Yeah. But we'll see. Like I said, when I didn't plan on having an handful of fighters. It just sort of happened.
How did it evolve? Was it, did someone come to you? Was it like I have all this free time?
What happened? We actually joked about it last night with James, who fights Sunday. I was the first lad I was training with Dylan. He was a family friend really, and there's not boxing no more. And again, boxing just wasn't for him. Like again, all his mates are earning money. Yeah. He's skint all the time, and then he's thinking, and it's all right. It just wasn't for you. He was a fit lad, but then he didn't want the sacrifice discipline of never being able to go out when his friends was out all the time, not being able to afford £300 t-shirts and stuff like that.
God, who's paying £300 for a t-shirt?
It's mad. A lot of the young ones aren't they? Crazy. But no, that's it. That's it. Like, I don't like, I'm older now. When I was younger, I probably wanted to myself, but don't get it now. But
you weighed up world champion status,
that's
a £300 t-shirt.
Yeah,
you know?
no, that's it.
It's an easy choice.
But that's it. So with them, and so I was helping him out, and then what happened was, Jake, one of the other lads, my mate was training him. He says, he's got no coach for. He said, I've not really got time. He says, would you think about, look, I said, I've not really got the time. And then I seen him, he was training, he was fighting in a few weeks. I said, listen, come upstairs. And then we've done a little bit, and he's a nice lad. And I thought, listen, we'll do this fight, and then we'll see where you go. And the next thing, done that fight. He stayed with us. And the sales thought, right, I won't be doing any more. And then Steve would ask me about training James and Rhiannon.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I remember I was hungover in Portugal. Like the second morning, or the first one, because it's always a big day the first day. I was up a little bit earlier than most. I was in the cafe and he rang me. And probably because it was rough, I was like, yeah, well, I'll ring you when I'm back. But yeah, and I think I said, listen, we'll do a few sessions, see how they are, and because they didn't have any coach or out like that. And it was funny, I went back to the apartment and said to my best mate, said, Steve, we've just been on about training. He went, if I don't want to train anyone, well, I don't want to train anyone else. He went, why have you just fucking said yeah then? So what I done, I said, no, I'll just see how it goes. And he said, you'll end up coaching. So went back, and then I just said to him, we'll do a few weeks, and I suggest you go and look at a few other places, see what suits you. Yeah. And, anyway, I was working with him, and just two brilliant people, but I saw how hard they was working, and I thought, if they can give me that, how can I say no? Yeah. And I loved it, and one of the best decisions I've made, and when I see the improvement in them both now, it's brilliant. Like, I see it, obviously I've got to do it under the lights, but I see it as a proud little achievement for myself. And then Alex Dilmagani, he'd got in touch and stuff, and again, another hard worker. He's obviously at a much different point, in his career. Yeah. But it just sort of happened like that. So I'm like, all right, that'll be me now for a bit. But then Bobby, like everyone who I work with, I've got a lad who's going to turn later in the year, young Bobby. He's I've got like a relationship with each and every one of them. Do you know what I mean? I've got a new relationship with everyone. It's not. I could take. I'm sure if I put it out there, there'd be more, without sounding arrogant, there'd be more fights, but I don't. I want to give him the time, and I'm a really busy guy as well, so I don't want to start saying, come take more fights, and I can't give him the time that I feel like they deserve. So
do you feel like they would have an extra confidence knowing that they're coached by someone who's done it?
Possibly, possibly. Been there. So saying, wore a t-shirt, like. Hopefully, like, I can pass on certain stuff to them, and I'm sure they'll respect it. I've been there. I've been in those. I felt similar to how they're going to feel, or how they have felt in fights, and they can relate to it because I'm talking to it. But I'm not one of them who says, for instance, like my coach Joe, he never boxed professional. He had quite a lot of amateur fights, but he never boxed professional. But it didn't stop me thinking, I don't know what I'm on. He don't know what he's on about, or like that, or. There's a lot of good fighters out there, a lot of good coaches out there who wasn't successful professional boxers or even had professional fights. I always said with football, was it Jose Mourinho? He wasn't a professional footballer, so I don't always think it. I don't think it works like that, but there is certain bits that I'm sure you can warrant a little bit more. Like, for instance, that feeling when you're tired in camp and you've got to think that you probably. It's easier coming from someone who's been there and done it himself.
Or weight cutting. How were you with weight cutting?
I honestly wasn't too bad. Listen, I can't pretend it wasn't easy, but I think I'd done it a bit more comfortable than most. I was always in the gym. I think Joe always expressed the importance of staying in the gym and like just sort of ticking over regardless. So I never blew up, massive. Listen, like there was times in camp always I just want more, just want to eat, but I couldn't. That was part of it. The biscuit. Yeah, that's it. Sweet tooth and stuff like you crave, don't you? It's natural. It's natural. But I never done anything like crazy. I think I was pretty well. With my weight. Like I've been around some of the lads who've had to, you have certain weight cuts. I know the board, and they'll do the check weighs and stuff, which helps. But still, there's a lot of fighters who struggle with a weight and do things that it's not the safest one, and that's just facts. Not right, but it's facts.
It's almost like it's the fight before the fight, isn't it? Really, you're like making that weight on the scales.
It's a battle with the scales. For some fighters, probably a lot of fighters, the fight with the scales is a lot harder than the fight on the night.
100%. How would you like to be remembered?
How would I like to be remembered? Do you know what? A lad who got the very best out of what he had. A lad who got the very best out of what he had, and gave some great nights to the people who come and watched him or supported him.
That's a lovely one.
Thank you. Yes. No,
and it's happened, and it's genuine, and it's happened. You know.
Yeah.
Proof was in the response at United matches when you're getting your photograph taken.
Yes. There we go.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
I really appreciate it. Did you enjoy yourself?
I did. Loved it. Good. So I revisited a few things and stuff. Yeah, it was good.
There were some good stories there, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was the episode 5 of the First Exchange podcast with me, your host, Lydia Des Dolles, and today's guest, former world champion, Anthony Crolla.